Welcome to Teal House Farm, and today we are going to can for the first time with our Weck canning jars. So if you've never seen a Weck canning jar, it's a glass mason jar that also has a glass lid. It has a rubber gasket and 2 stainless steel clips to keep the lid in place during the canning process. Weck jars are pretty uncommon in the United States, but they are very popular in Europe and really seem, just through my research, seem to be kind of the standard jar in Europe. In America, we typically use these ball type canning jars that have a metal lid and a metal ring. This is kind of our gold standard, and it is a great jar. I have hundreds of these. I use them all the time. The downside is that you have to replace this lid basically every time. I'll be honest, sometimes I reuse them. You can buy reusable lids. I have actually never tried them. One of the things I don't like about the reusable lids when I read about them is that they do all seem to be plastic, and I'm not a big fan of plastics. I guess the plastic, like the Tatler lid, it's not that awful when you consider you're reusing it again and again and again versus a metal lid that you're gonna throw away. But I actually got these for Christmas, and I love that the lids are glass and that the gasket is rubber and the clips are stainless steel, so there is basically no plastic involved except for a tiny little bit used in shipping. Weck jars come in a lot of different sizes. This one I believe is a 12, yes. This is a 12-ounce jar. So today Ivy and I and Micah and I, we are going to make some cranberry sauce. And these jars will be the perfect size for canning it. So this is my first time using these, so we're learning together a little bit, but I've done a lot of reading and watched a couple YouTube videos just so I knew what I was doing. So basically the theory is the same. We're going to clean and sanitize our jars. I don't have a dishwasher, so I can't sanitize and clean in the dishwasher. So we're gonna hand wash, and then I'm going to put in a big pot of water and boil these jars and lids, because these are glass too. We need to heat these rubber gaskets up in warm water for 2 to 3 minutes so that they are sanitized and ready to be used to seal. And then we will actually just place the ring on top. Then you put the lid on top. This is hard to do one-handed, but I got it. And then these clips go adjacent to one another. They will hold your lid and your gasket in place here while you can. And then once your jar has completely cooled, so 7 or 8 hours later, you pop those stainless steel clips off and you store the jar without them. I'm a little concerned about how I'm gonna get these clips on without totally burning my fingers, because it's not easy to do. And then also with the ball metal lids, you have the convenience to be able to write your date and contents just right on the top of the marker, but this doesn't have that, and so I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna label them. Videos that I've watched, you'll notice they just use like tape and label, which I can do, but that's just something else that you have to buy. And then when you want to clean the jar, if you got nasty tape residue, you have to get that all off. So I actually think I'm gonna try getting one of those chalk marker pens and seeing if that'll write on them, because that'd be great, and it would wash right off and I wouldn't have to have any tape or sticky residue. But I don't have that today, so we'll try that next time. But we're gonna go ahead and get started. So we are going to start our cranberry sauce, because it has to simmer for a while, and then we'll get our jars ready and we'll show you how well it goes through the canner. My homemade cranberry sauce recipe is super simple. For every bag of cranberries, and these are 12-ounce bags, you add 1 cup orange juice and 1 cup of sugar. That's it. Sam loves my homemade cranberry sauce, but cranberries are only available. You can help too, just
need for? Mommy.
Cranberries are only available at Thanksgiving time. So I buy up the bags the week after Thanksgiving when they are half price, and then I freeze them. And then when I have extra time, I'll make a recipe.
Last one. Mamma mia. Mama, see, I used your outfit.
Homemade cranberry sauce is excellent with chicken or turkey, or on top of some grilled pork chops. I like it I could eat it just on its own. But.
I don't really like it. It's kind of too spicy.
So we're gonna add 3 cups of
I think it's
orange juice.
delicious.
All right, and we're gonna do 3 cups of white sugar.
Sugar emulsion.
Okay, pour that in.
This is gonna be definitely delicious.
We are going to stir this in and bring it to a boil, and then simmer for about 20 minutes until the cranberries start to pop open. So if you've watched a lot of my canning videos, you'll know that I typically sanitize my jars in the oven because I don't have a dishwasher, and I don't like sanitizing them on the stovetop in a big pot because I can't fit that many big pots on the burners. It ends up pushing a pot off a burner and then it doesn't work well. But I'm going to be really good and a rule follower today because I really don't know anything about these Weck jars and I've never used them before. So I'm going to go ahead and take my canner off the stove so I can fit the large pot. I have all my jars and lids inside some warm water, and I'm going to go ahead and bring them to a boil. The Weck website says to boil them for 10 minutes to sanitize them. I do know for things that need a longer canning time, you don't always have to sanitize. I just feel more comfortable sanitizing my jar. I think it just takes out a small room for error. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now.
Look what I got.
And now put them in the pot. Okay, these need to boil 2 to 3 minutes, and then you just let them sit in the warm water until we're ready for them.
You don't have a hat, but I like you too.
You like my apron?
Yeah.
You have an apron. Do you need help with that apron? Boo-boos. Hi, boo-boos. Our cranberries are boiling. You notice they get nice and frothy. So keep an eye on them. It will boil over. You're going to turn it down and just let it simmer until the cranberries start popping. So right now our cranberries are still whole circles. They'll start breaking and flattening out, and then we'll know that they're ready. Okay, the cranberries are really starting to flatten out. I'll show you. There we go. I'm gonna have Ivy hit them real fast with a potato masher just to smash any that are still whole, and then we're actually ready to can. So we have our jars here that are processed just sitting in the hot water. I'm going to take that off the stove and leave them in the hot water and go ahead and put on the water bath canner and get that hot while we can these jars. I am so excited to see how these turn out in the jar. Okay, but don't splash. And if you're new to water bath canning, just remember you want the water in the canner hot when you put your jars in. You do not want it boiling yet. We're not going to bring it to a boil until we have it all loaded, rack lowered, and the lid on. The Weck website recommends placing your seal before filling the jar, which I'm not 100% convinced on how that's going to be easier because I feel like I'm going to get cranberry sauce all over the jar. I'm going to try it since it's their recommendation. It's a little different size ring, so this wide mouth canner funnel is not quite the right size, but my regular mouth funnel, the hole is too small for the whole cranberries. They'll just clog it up. So this is kind of our compromise. Hopefully it doesn't make a humongous mess. Yeah, it's kind of what I thought. I think I'm gonna do it the other way next time. There we go. It's actually, I can use my hands. It's hot, but since I let it stop boiling and then did it, it's touchable, so that's good. That worry is no longer a worry. All right, and then we're gonna clamp it. I made 6 12-ounce jars with the 3 bags of cranberries. The filling instructions are very similar to regular U.S. mason jars. You want to leave about a 1/2 inch head space. Some of these I did a little too much head space, but that's okay. Too much is always better than not enough, because if you don't have enough, it's going to leak out. I'm going to go ahead and lower it in the canner rack. We want to make sure the water covers them completely, and these are taller than regular pint jars, so no, I did not put enough water in. So we're going to add our hot water here that we used to boil the gaskets. And we're going to still need a little more. Make sure if you have to add water, you add hot water, not cold water. Cold water might actually crack the jars. Processing is 15 minutes. We start the clock once it starts boiling. So while those are finishing, I have a new box here. I thought we could just talk about, now that I've done it, real quick, what I liked and what I didn't like so far. I love the sustainability factor. You have, everything is reusable. You can reuse the gasket until it becomes hard and brittle or is damaged. And when it's time to replace, they are not very expensive to replace, so I like that. Unlike a regular mason jar where you have to replace the lid every time. I also really like that the tops are glass. I feel like when it comes to plastics, every few years they tell you that such and such substance in plastic is really bad for you. Yeah, because that undercoating on the metal of a ball lid is coated with a kind of a plasticky substance. So this is glass. Glass is glass. It's been around forever. And just overall, I feel like the jar is really aesthetically pleasing. It's going to look really nice in my pantry. It's got just a nice shape, a nice design to it. Some of the things I didn't like quite as much. I did find that it took me a long time to fill them. I felt like I was kind of fumbling around trying to figure out the best way. I do think that'll get faster as I get used to it. I do think a funnel that will actually fit this size would be great, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to find that in the US. Maybe I can actually order one from Weck. I'm not quite sure, but I'm sure that this is some sort of metric size. It does not fit the normal wide mouth lid I have. And also, and this isn't something I don't like, but just a tip, I noticed with these clips that it almost takes 2 snaps. So when you click them on, it goes click, click, and that's how you know it's really tightly attached. You almost felt like when you first put it on, here I'll show you. When you first put them on, you almost felt like it was secure and ready to go in the canner, but it actually wasn't clipped all the way until you hear that second snap. So, see. Snap, snap. Now it's secure and can go in the canner. But after that first snap, I had a couple of them where I thought that they were secure on the jar and they popped off sky high. So that was that's not a negative, that's just a tip. I'm excited to see how well these use to store. I'm going to show you what in just a minute here. I'll fast forward and show you what they look like coming out of the canner, and then I'm going to show you what they look like in 7 to 8 hours when they're totally cool and we take the snaps off and see how well the lid's actually sealed. All right, these are about 10 minutes out of the canner, so obviously when the time is up, you turn the canner off, you let them sit in there for about 5-10 minutes, and then it's safe to move them. There's no popping like there would be on a ball jar, so I guess there's no way to know that they're really sealed until it's time to check them, since you can't hear that pop. But they look great. Liquid stayed in, there isn't water that got in there, so far it looks like they did their job. We'll come back and take these tabs off in about 7 hours when it's all the way cooled down. Alright, it's been about 7 hours. The jars are nice and cool, so we're going to try taking these clamps off. Oh, this one did not seal. Okay, so we have one that didn't seal, so you kind of went wrong here. I don't know what went wrong. Okay. That's disappointing. That one's good. Nope, that one didn't seal either. That one's okay. That one's okay. So I'm not sure. It kind of looks like, if you look at the gasket. It looks like it was folded in, so it wasn't all the way around. These are kind of tricky to line up, like even right now, trying to put it back on to get the gasket not folded just right. It's still folded. So almost like it doesn't fit on there.
You flip it the other way.
No, it's the same on both sides. There we go. So, bit of a learning curve there, I guess. We'll just have to freeze these 2 batches in the freezer, just keep them good. The other ones are nice and tight though. So, I think we just need more practice.
Come on. Our snow has been getting, you guys missed, it was so hard for a while. They had big snowflakes falling down. Big. Yeah. Alright, so here's a better look at the door. I don't want to go into the snow, otherwise it'll like flush the camera a little. So you can't really see it on the camera. If you guys can see it,